written representation is not a voice, it's just written representations. But we certainly will have written representations, and we would try, subject to time constraints, we would try and have some public bodies speaking if we have got time. But certainly in terms of recommendations that the public wants to place before the Commission, that's still welcome. And indeed, there are organizations which have already sent some submissions to the Commission. I might not have read all of them, but I've looked at some. Some are very thorough, and they just indicate that the people concerned have taken their time to really try and assist the Commission. And we are very grateful to them. Obviously, at some stage, I will read them. Or summaries that may be given to me. So we will have that. But I also need to say then that we plan to, at some stage, have a time when Parliament could make representations to the Commission or appear before the Commission. This would be in the context of something that I've talked about in the past. When one looks at what has been coming out of the Commission in terms of evidence relating to corruption in various SOEs and so on and so on, members of the public are bound to ask the question, where was Parliament as all of this was happening? Because Parliament is supposed to exercise oversight functions over the executive. They can call a minister, they can call a DG, they can call the president and say, what's going on? Why is this not being fixed? So members of the public would be entitled to say, where was Parliament as all of this was happening? And one of the things that I've said quite some time back we would look at is how did Parliament exercise its oversight functions? Did it have enough mechanisms, oversight mechanisms, in order to perform their oversight functions over the executive effectively, or did they not have those? And if they did have those, are they effective? Were they effective? Is it a question of Parliament didn't use mechanisms, oversight mechanisms that were effective or could have been used effectively, but they just didn't use them? Or is the position that Parliament did all that they could, but the mechanisms that were at their disposal were just not enough for them to do more than they did? This is important because, as I've said in the past, one of the things that this Commission must look at is if state capture did take place, and if one looks at the high levels of corruption that have emerged from the evidence of the Commission, the Commission would need to look at what measures should it recommend should be put in place to make sure that state capture never happens again, or to make sure that the levels of corruption are brought down meaningfully. And it seems to me that Parliament, by virtue of its oversight functions, has a big role to play to make sure that that is done. But Parliament must have adequate and proper oversight mechanisms, and then they must perform their functions in order to make sure that these things do not happen. So that is part of what we are going to do. And in this regard, I can share with the media and the public that I have recently been in contact with the Speaker of Parliament, as well as the chairperson of the NCOP, and they have indicated that they'll give the Commission their full support and cooperation. And I'm sure that in due course we will reach a stage where we could have representations from Parliament, and or there could be an appearance to share information with the Commissioner to give evidence. Thank you.